In the interest of time here, let's start it off here. So everybody, thanks so much for joining. Whether or not you're watching us live on Facebook right now, or maybe you're watching this on a recording on Facebook, or maybe you're watching this on a YouTube channel, we appreciate you giving us the time for us tonight. Really pleased today to be joined by Chad Thompson from Pasha Lake Cabins. And as we have with other weeks, what we're going to be doing here is giving Chad an opportunity to share with you, the audience, about his operation, which is available for people for fishing trips, hunting trips, family vacations, whatever you like. If you want, you can fire away and type in your questions in the comment section, and then we'll do our best to make sure Chad has an opportunity to answer those questions. So I tell you what, why don't we start off? Are you okay to get started, Chad?
Yeah, fire away.
All right, well, listen, you know where we're going to go with this. Let's start with, why don't you tell us about, big picture here, tell us about Pasha Lake Cabins.
So Pasha Lake Cabins is a lodge located in what would be still considered Northwest Ontario. We're kind of right on that border between Northeastern Ontario and Northwestern Ontario. It's kind of the forgotten zone. Most people are familiar with Sunset Country, Algoma. We're kind of sandwiched right in between the middle. And what kind of our claim to fame is we're on the shores of Lake Nipigon. We're actually located on Pasha Lake, but Lake Nipigon is this huge, massive body of water that is just north of Lake Superior. And the famous Nipigon River, Nipigon, however you want to pronounce it, is famous for the world record brook trout caught by Dr. Cook, which was 14-some pounds and some change. I forget the exact. But that's us, yeah. So we're located within a 25-minute drive of Lake Nipigon. Between those two areas, there's not a whole lot of lodges around us, but I tell you what, there's a whole lot of good fishing.
Yeah. So I've been excited to talk to you more about your lodge. So for the audience, I always tell whether or not I fished this location or not, and I have not had a chance to fish Pasha Lake, so I'm going to be learning with everybody else. But if you take a look at the screen here, Chad, you've had some very big names come up and fish your location.
We have, that Nipigon is highly sought after by top fishermen, by people that are very familiar with the fishing industry. It's kind of one of those untapped resources, super hard to get to, not a whole lot of information, but the fishing opportunities out there are unparalleled anywhere else in the freshwater world.
So I think for the folks that, like myself, that follow fishing shows, you've got obviously big names in Canada, but also the upper Midwest there from the States too. So you're obviously drawing from both parts of the countries.
Yeah. We're only a day's drive from the upper Midwest. So we're kind of in that window where it does draw a lot of attention from the freshwater fishing industry anyway.
Yeah. Well, here, let's take a look here. So if people want to get an idea of where you are, geography wise, we say kind of northeast of Thunder Bay. What's the drive time from Thunder Bay to your location, do you figure?
2.5 hours, just 11:17. Then it splits after you cross the Nipigon Bridge. We're about an hour north of that. But what I always tell people, a good rule of thumb is we're 8 hours from Sault Ste. Marie, 8 hours from the Twin Cities, and 12 to 16 hours from the GTA.
Beauty. And one of the questions that we've had in the past is for people that maybe haven't driven that far north, what are the road conditions like as they approach your location?
Primarily, it's all Trans-Canada Highway. There's a major trucking road there, the Highway 11, but we are well off the beaten path. So we're north of that 5 kilometers, still close enough to be on the grid, but far enough that you still get that remote experience. But it is primarily, it's all Trans-Canada Highway to within the last 5-10 miles of the lodge.
Awesome. So, easy driving, beautiful driving, and the last little bit being a bit more rustic is super. So listen, why don't we tell folks here, and so folks, we got a little bit of a structure here, and we're going to get to some of the, the unique features of Pasha Lake, but why don't we start a little bit with telling us a little bit about what your camp is, as far as, what are the structures, what do you got available for people who are coming to stay?
Sure. So we're located on Pasha Lake, which is a small lake, comparatively speaking. It's only about 200 acres. We're the only lodge on the lake, and we have 11 cabins and a main lodge. So you, like I said, you drive Highway 11 basically right to within the last 5 kilometers of the lodge, drive north, and then drive into camp. On the site, all of our cabins, you know, I mentioned that earlier, we are on the grid. So we have 24/7 hydro. We have all those creature comforts that make you comfortable. But again, we're remote enough where you wouldn't know, you don't have relatively easy access to anything like big city or anything like that.
Awesome. And it looks to me from this picture and the next one, is it safe to say that a lot of your cabins are located right on the water?
They are. Yep. So when we bought the lodge back in 2005, things were in pretty rough shape, and the layout of the camp itself was not, you know, it just, well, considering that they had to do a lot of building back when they didn't have the luxury 24/7 hydro, that stuff, they just plopped cabins wherever they could. Well, now that we have a little bit more modern amenities, we made it a priority for the camp that any renovations we do, we make it so the views are beautiful, overlooking Pasha Lake. The cabins are spacious. They have modern amenities. You know, when I say that, it's a full kitchen, modern shower, flush toilets, that type of thing. But yes, all the renovations we've done, either new cabins or cabin renovations, we've put and made sure that there's views of the water.
Yeah, and so I think we got some shots here, you know, of the cabin. So essentially, if a guest comes up to your facility, other than, you know, their fishing gear, you know, maybe their food, do they need to bring anything, or are these fully equipped camps?
They are. So each cabin has a full kitchen in it with all the cutlery, pots, pans, coffee maker, microwave oven, or a microwave, range top oven, all those things. So yeah, basically you just need to show up with your fishing gear, excuse me, your own food and drink, and we take care of the rest.
Awesome. And maybe you could give folks a bit of an idea here on group size. You know, like what are the cabins usually sleep, so to speak, and do you have kind of minimum or maximum numbers?
We do. So we have 3 cabin sizes basically. So we have 4-person cabins, 2 bedroom, 4 beds, 6-person cabins, 3 bedrooms, 6 beds, and then what we consider our deluxe cabins, which are 4 bedroom, 8 beds. Those are by far our largest cabins, about 11 to 1,200 square foot living space with 4 bedrooms. So, and then we, with the newer cabins too, we also built additions on them for, you could store your gear. It's kind of a little vestibule, if you will, where people pile all their gear in, and then they don't have to have it cluttered around the cabin. Yeah.
So when you come in from a hard day fishing and you're dirty and mucky, you leave that out there.
Yep. It's kind of like a mudroom.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So folks, again, if you're just joining us right now, if you've got questions at all for, you know, Chad, just type them into the comment section. We'll do our best to give those. Hi fellas. Yeah, looks like a great location. These are just some comments that are coming across here. So as we move along from the main cabin, so it sounds like, you know, you're not wanting for anything when you're staying at Pasha Lake, but you also have some main lodge facilities. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so we have a main lodge where we have a 72-inch flat screen TV, which is hugely popular, especially during playoff season, be it the hockey playoffs or during basketball in the fall or anything like that. It's kind of a general area that we don't necessarily rent out, but everybody's welcome to go down there. We do have larger groups. Say we have a group of 12 people, even on up, when we've accommodated people of 60 plus, but they'll go down there and they'll use the lodge as a dining facility just so they can all eat together. That's also where you access the Wi-Fi, but generally speaking, it's a nice common area for the larger groups. There's additional restrooms in there. So it's just kind of a nice common area. Oh, we also, I should mention this, we do a Tuesday night all camp fish fry. And in the event that it's raining or bad weather, we'll move the fish fry, the all camp fish fry, into the lodge and hold the fish fry in there. It's a lot of fun for our guests.
Nice. So rain or shine, Tuesday night is fish fry night.
Yep.
Now, do people have to catch and bring their own, or do you have a little bit
They
of
do.
spare here?
So Michelle and I will batter and fry the fish. What's really, really neat is the guests bring like a side dish. They bring down their day's catch or whatever they want to. It's all skinned and boned out. And then we cook it up, serve it with all the side dishes. For the fish fry, man, we've had everything. We've had professional jugglers. We've had people come down and play guitar. Wow. We've had people come down and play harmonica. It's fun for the whole family. It's fun for the kids. It's fun to get together with different groups from different areas. And you'd be surprised too how many people that come to the fish fry will find connections to where their hometown is. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Listen, a question that came in, maybe they missed it on the start here. It says, is this a drive-to location? Yeah, so this is, Pasha Lake is a spot that you drive your own vehicle to, so there's no flying involved. Although I imagine some people might choose to, say, fly up to Thunder Bay and drive across if they want or something like that.
They do, and we offer pickup service too. Most people flying to Thunder Bay, they'll end up renting some type of SUV or a truck and drive up. In the odd occasion, we do provide pickup service if it's going to be like a fully guided deal, something like that.
Yep. Awesome. So in addition to the main lodge, any other camp amenities that we should know about?
I think that the highlights or what's most popular with our guests is, again, we have all the modern creature comforts of being on the grid, so we have 24/7 hydro. It's not like you're listening to a noisy generator. You're not limited as to making coffee or charging boat batteries. So those kind of luxuries are really popular with the guests. People can they can haul their own boats in, charge their trolling motor batteries. In addition to the lodge, the gazebo, the cabins, we have a fish cleaning shack on site. We also have a 4-spot RV camp with full hookups. And a workshop too with a full-time mechanic. Ian, kind of our camp manager and our full-time guide, he's also pretty handy, so he can fix things that break during your stay. So that's come in handy quite a few times.
I was going to say, not that ever happens, right? No.
Murphy rears his ugly head often.
Yeah. So listen, folks, if you're joining here, here's what's really interesting, and I'll shut up and let Chad go here. So he's mentioned a couple times that, the camp is located on Pasha Lake, but I think for the most part, that's not where people are fishing. So, why don't you tell us what I think is the most unique feature about your operation is your backcountry methods.
Yeah, we call it wilderness fishing, and it's super popular for the guests. And I'll condition it by saying it is absolutely not for everyone. If somebody is looking for a walk down in a dock, jump in a boat, and go fishing on the lake that you're staying on experience, I'm the first to say that's not us. That's not what we offer. But what we do offer is what I call wilderness fishing, and it just accesses exceptional fishing opportunities. And you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to be the only one on the lake out there fishing. Now on the slide, if everybody can see the slide, there's 2 things I want to point out here. So first of all, every day we will sit down with the guests, be it the night before or the morning of, and we go over your day's plan. Part of going over that plan is that we offer travel maps, and we also give the guests lake maps. So when you leave for a day's fish, you're going to have a travel map which shows you in very gory detail everything you need to do to access the lake. Go to kilometer 24, take a left, go 5 kilometers, take a left, find the goat path, walk in, there's the lake, there's the boats, that type of thing. And then in addition to have the travel map, they're also going to have a lake map which shows them the outline of the lake and where to start fishing. And it's just worked really, really well for our guests. They find them super useful. We haven't lost anyone to date that's never come back. But again, follow the map right to the fishing holes, and people find that it works really, really well.
So how many lakes are we talking about that they have an option to fish?
Collectively in a season, now I'm talking from May to the end of October, our guests will fish over 100 different bodies of waters. That's lakes, rivers, that type of stuff. But over 100 lakes will fish in a season.
Wow. And how they get to the lakes, it could vary, right? It could be, walking or ATVing or driving. Is it an assortment?
Yeah. So you could boat to some lakes right from your cabin if you're very adventurous. But most people are going to be driving anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes each and every day to access the lakes. And when I say driving their own vehicles. And primarily that's all going to be logging roads. Very rarely are you going to be on a hard surface road. So when I say people fly into Thunder Bay and they rent an SUV or a truck, there's a reason they do that. Is because primarily they are going to be traveling logging roads.
You got some comments here. Greg Waffle, I think maybe from one of your past guests, there's making a recommendation of Ornament Lake.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Ornament Lake is by far one of our most popular fisheries. It's a very unique lake. And I argue, and there's people that'll fight me on this, but I think it's the best freshwater walleye fishing in all of Ontario.
Wow.
Big Lake is the premier habitat to produce big walleyes in big numbers. It's just crazy insane. But what makes the lake super unique, yes, the walleye fishing is outstanding, but what makes the lake super unique, it requires a 1.25 mile walk down to the lake. There's a buffer zone where the ministry has said, you will not drive down to the lake. You have to access it by walking. And we're fortunate to have 6 boat caches there, legal boat caches, licensed boat caches. So when you walk down to the lake, we have 6 boats and motors all ready to go for a day's fish.
Awesome. I'm curious. I didn't ask you this. Like, do you ever have more than one guest wants the same lake, like, or do you just work that out?
We work it out. We've not had very rarely do we have a conflict in lakes. Having 6 boats on Ornament is huge because once that lake opens up, there's a lot of people that want to go down there. So it frees up all the other back lakes for people to go to. And there's river systems too. And people also bring their own boats. So we very rarely ever have any conflicts with getting equipment and people out on lakes.
Great stuff. So listen, let's, are you okay if we move on to talk about the species?
Sure.
Yeah. So folks, let's talk. I mean, I think we got 4 main species. I don't know if you want to comment. We got northern pike here. So what are our options for northern pike?
So what people call up, if not familiar with this, one of the first things they might ask about is like bass fishing or sunfish. I always tell people, so we don't have the big 3. We don't have muskies, we don't have bass, and we don't have panfish. But the fishing species that we do offer and are super popular with our guests are northern pike, walleye, of course. Those are kind of our 2 staple fish. And then, excuse me for a sec. And depending on time of year, the trout fishing is also very popular with our guests. But what you're seeing in the photos here is our pike fishing. And I consider our pike fishing to be exceptional. And it's 2 reasons for that. First of all, we're on the doorstep of Lake Nipigon, and there's many top anglers, people that have been in the business, that are very established fishermen, that are thoroughly convinced that the next world record northern pike will come from Lake Nipigon. And I have to agree with them. But because all these waterways are somehow connected to Nipigon, all these wilderness back lakes also have enormous opportunity for trophy pike. When I say trophy, that's typically referring to a 40-inch or bigger northern pike.
Yeah. Beautiful. Listen, before I miss it, there's a question here. I think it's a good one. Because the picture we had with, I believe it's you hauling the motor, do people actually have to haul boats and motors at any point? Like, sometimes do they take the boat or are they already there?
It depends. So each lake is different. Because we fish so many different lakes, the logistics in getting to each lake can be a little bit different. So Let's say on Ornament, we'll just use Ornament as an example. Boats, motors, gas is already there. However, you do have to carry in a day can once we get rolling in the season just to keep the gas topped up. On other lakes, you might go there and there might be a, hold on a second. There might be I don't know if you can still hear me.
We can hear you okay, yep.
Okay. So some of the other lakes you'll go to where there might just be a boat there, where you'll have to carry in a small motor like you saw in that picture. You'll slap the motor onto the boat and go fishing for the day. So each lake is different, and that's why we sit down with you every day and go over those maps, the logistic plan, and getting you to and from. And again, where to start fishing and kind of the areas to focus on.
Beauty. All right, so we got Trophy Northerns there available. And then Walleye, you said is your second one. And it looks from here, you got numbers and you got size. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yep. Again, I mean, all these waterways have huge trophy potential. And then being on the doorstep of Lake Nipigon and having Ottoman Lake in our arsenal, it's just exceptional walleye fishing. I just don't think you're going to find better opportunities to fish walleyes in secluded areas with the caliber and the quality of fish that we're catching.
So in a typical year, what's the season that you run? I imagine the opener in spring. How late will you fish into the fall?
We typically go to the first week in October. The trout season ends on Nipigon the last day in September, first day in October, and that's kind of huge for us. But once you get into that first full week in October, the weather turns pretty bad, and you can get limited in how many days you're going to be out fishing unless you're super hardcore.
Yeah. And so you've mentioned trout a couple times, and really we got two species. You got your Brooks, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, brook trout. There's a lot of people that see and hear about the Lake Nipigon strain of brook trout and realize how special that is. I mean, people, comparatively speaking, from the Northeast, if they go out and catch a 12 to 14-inch brook trout in any given day, that's considered a trophy. On Nipigon, the average brook trout is 18 inches. So that kind of speaks to, the caliber of fishery that is. And again, the world record brook trout was caught in the Nipigon River. And it's just an exciting fishery, especially for the trout fanatics.
Yeah. I think people just need to understand that, maybe what they're used to as far as average or normal may not be what you're used to up there.
Right. Yeah. 18 inches again. I mean, that's your average Nipigon brook trout. And you could see by some of the photos there's Hooch in the lower right-hand corner. That guy's a fishing fanatic, but those are some pretty special fish. Yeah.
And then why don't you take us through some Lakers and then we'll move on to some of your other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to sound like a dead horse, but or beating a dead horse here, but the Lake Nipigon strain of lake trout is highly sought after, again, by anglers that hear about it, they're curious about it, but the size and the potential out there is unparalleled. And what's neat about Nipigon is we also catch them through the ice fishing, but they are the strain that you can eat. I forget the name of the strain, but it's not the fatty ones, the Siskoets. These are the ones that are fantastic food, table fare. So yeah, it's just a unique fishery, big fish opportunity. And then we also fish lake trout on inland lakes as well. And obviously they don't get as big as Nipigon, but they are a whack of fun to catch jigging.
Awesome. Yeah, there's some comments about like holy to some of the size of the fish. So folks, if you have any questions, now's the time to pop them into the comment section there. So you got the big species, and I imagine throughout the season, your guests would go onto different lakes based on what the right fish is to catch at the right time of the year.
Yeah, so we got some lakes seasonality where they're going to suck in the spring, but come midsummer and fall, those lakes are rocking and rolling. So, and we know that just from doing it for so long. So we'll steer guests towards where they're going to get the most action, but we also listen to them in the sense that they might want to just go after one big walleye for the day. That's going to be what they're targeting. So we'll throw, a couple, 3 lakes at them to say, focus this area and fish here. And we just try to give people as much information as we can.
Awesome. So one of the questions actually that came in was talking about your motor. So why don't we comment on what's your typical boat and motor setup on these adventure lakes?
Yeah. One of the first things I'll say too is our boats are not made for luxury; they're made for fishing. So they are the standard bread and butter fishing boat that is so common in northwestern Ontario. They're basically 14 and 16-foot style bench style boats. We run pull start Yamaha motors, 4 strokes, although we're transitioning to Tohatsu too. They're a basic setup, so there's no electronics or anything like that. But they are deadly effective for wilderness fishing and getting to these remote areas. And they're going to be as comfortable as they possibly can be for a day's fish.
Sure. I mean, if they work, that's what you need, right? Motor needs to start and boat needs to float.
Yeah, the Yamahas are great motors. They're 4 strokes. I always kid with the guests, if you look at them wrong, they'll start. So we just don't have those type of issues. But yeah, the boats are great for the back wilderness fishing.
Yeah. So a question that came in is about wildlife. So do you get, on some of the hikes into the lakes and maybe in general, what are the wildlife opportunities up there?
Yeah, I mean, I could go through 100 different stories. One that comes top to mind is back when I had a lab. I was walking out of Onaman and her hair stood up on the back and actually started growling long before we rounded this corner. I figured when we rounded the corner, there was going to be a bear standing in the middle of the road, or in the path rather, and there was a cow caribou standing there staring at us. So we've also had guests witness calving moose being chased by wolves. We have plenty of wildlife: moose, bear, wolf, caribou. All 3 grouse species. When I say all 3, I mean rough, spruce, and sharptails. We're not on a major waterfall flyway, but we do get a lot of local ducks and geese. So yeah, there's plenty of wildlife.
Wicked. All right, listen, you've got a couple of different guiding options, and I think you call them, guided on the inland or guiding on the Nipigon. Why don't you take us through those?
Yeah, we run a daily charter to Lake Nipigon. We access, again, it's kind of seasonal. So in the spring, right after ice out, we're primarily targeting trout and big pike. And then as midsummer, as the water starts to warm up and the walleye starts to run, we will target that. And that's the trip that a lot of people hear about. Some people refer to it as the walleye dream trip, but that's the trip where we go out on Nipigon, and it's not uncommon to go out and catch 200 to 300 walleyes in a day. And I'm not talking 12 to 14-inch walleyes. These are, if you look at Jake there on the right, that's on the Nipigon trip. That's just a little bit above average walleye. So That's Lake Nipigon. And then on inland, a lot of people will ask us to take them out or hire us to take them out on some of these wilderness back lake. One of the most popular is going to be Onaman.
Wicked. Let me just get caught up here. Yeah, Greg recommends that the walleye dream trip. You will not be disappointed.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, these trips, whether it's inland or Nipigon, would they arrange your guests? Would they typically arrange those as part of booking, or do they book that on the fly with you?
Yeah, what we found the best practices is we start posting that guide schedule a week before people arrive. There's too many variables to try to book it too far in advance, mainly being weather. So what we do is we contact each guest that books. We will call them a week ahead of their arrival. We'll talk current events, go over last minute, whatever, fishing and that type of stuff. And then we talk guide schedule, and then we post the guide schedule a week out.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on here. I guess a new thing that you're talking about is also the ability to offer some dining options for your guests.
Yeah, so we've been toying with the American plan. I mean, it's kind of, I shouldn't say, it is very common in Northwest Ontario that when you book a trip, you have the option for an American plan. American plan means meals every day, usually a chef's choice, 2 hot meals, a hot meal for breakfast, 1 for dinner, and then a cold lunch, either, cold cuts, or you can also do shore lunch as well. And the American plan 2 that we offer also has the option of guiding each day that you're there. So that is something we're playing with for the groups that have done it. It's been very effective and highly popular, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback. So that's something we're kind of tiptoeing into. but primarily most of our guests are self-guided, semi-guided in the sense that, they come into the cabins, they cook their own food in the full kitchen. We meet with them every day, give them as much information and then as they can get, and then they head up for a day's fish.
Awesome. A question I never asked you actually was, I when we were chatting before this, I understand that, you're going to go out in the morning, you're going to probably have your breakfast, you're going to go out, you're going to fish for the day. Do you have shore lunch locations on some of these lakes as well?
We recommend areas, but there's not. Some of the bigger lakes are going to have established camping areas where people will do shore lunch. We'll recommend different areas. I mean, my family and I have done a shore lunch on a lot of these lakes, vast majority of them, so we can recommend different areas.
Great. Awesome. All right. So listen, let's talk a little bit about hunting. If we can, make the switch here, because you've got both options for people that are hunting moose and for bear. Why don't you take us through that?
Yeah. So we offer non-resident, I'm sorry, let me back up. Non-resident moose hunting, unfortunately, the tag situation has changed in Ontario. So we no longer offer non-resident moose hunting. So that, I know a lot of people are bummed out, but we do get a lot of inquiries because they see all the moose on our webpage and stuff. So just right off the bat, I just like to say we do not offer non-resident moose hunting. It's possible we will in the future if the tag allocation changes. But as of right now, we just simply don't have the tags to do that. And for the resident hunters, we do not offer tags. So resident hunters have to draw their own tags in the provincial draw, and then they book accommodations with us during the hunting season. So when we offer moose hunting services, primarily what it is, it's cabin accommodation and information surrounding the resident moose hunt.
Got it. Now, would that be the same for bear, or why don't you take us through, the bear hunt?
No, the bear hunt is completely different. So we have 25 tags on any given year. Primarily the people booking hunting services through us are from the upper Midwest, although we do get a handful of Canadians now and again. So what we offer is a 7 to 10 day package with 2 guaranteed active baits, and then we layer that with a fishing package. So a lot of hunters will come in and they might shoot a bear in the first 48 hours of their stay, 42, 78 hours, whatever, 72 hours. So let's say that they shoot a bear, then they're not stuck having to pay for, rentals every day. So what we do is we offer the bear package, we layer on the fishing package. So when you come up, you do the bear hunt, do the fishing package. And as far as the bear hunting services, as I said, we offer the 2 guaranteed active baits. Once you down a bear, we will help you retrieve it. We bring it back. We process it down to quarters. We prep the hide and freeze it for whatever you want to do with it, be it a mount or a rug. And then we also help with the paperwork as far as export permits. And basically, we just make it as seamless and as painless as possible when you do the hunt.
Awesome. So I'm just going to check in here. Still some comments about the great fishing and some people that are making various recommendations on which lakes that they should be going through. So there, you've got some help from people making some comments here, Chad.
Got it. I'll tell, some of our lakes we don't talk about, unless you're a guest staying with us. So we like to keep some of those lakes secret.
Yeah, you got to have that. That's for the customer.
Yep.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about this, with the hunt. You can have the hunt and the fishing plan, but essentially, what are the various packages? And I'll say this to the group now: the best thing to do is to reach out to Chad, right? So we're going to have his contact information, on the screen after this. But why don't you walk us through what the options are that your guests have available?
Yeah, so there's 2 base packages, and we can customize anything, but a large percentage of the guests are booking 2 base packages. The first is the simplest. We call it the cabin package. You book a cabin for the week. You bring your own boat motor up, and then we it's not like we abandon you. We'll sit down and talk shop, go over satellite imagery, go over maps, talk about good fishing. But basically, people are bringing up their own boat. Now, on days where they can't get out on Nipigon, and let me back up a second. People that bring their own boats up, usually they have the intention of fishing Lake Nipigon. So the boat they're bringing up is a big rig that isn't going to go into these back wilderness lakes. On the days that they can't get out of Nipigon, then they can rent boats from us on the inland lakes. So that's the cabin package. They show up with their own boat. They book the cabin for the week for whatever size party they have. The fishing package by far is the most popular package. That's where you book a cabin for the week. That includes boat, motor, bait, access to all the lakes, including Onaman. Basically, you just show up with your own food, drink, and fishing gear, and all the equipment is available for you. And then the American plan, which we talked about earlier, where you can book a package that also includes meals. The next one on there is the North American Black Hunt, which we talked about that in great detail. But also in the off season and during the summer, for you contractors out there that are anticipate working in the area, we do offer long-term accommodations to contractors. And some of the people we've accommodated in the past include the Ministry of Natural Resources, some mining companies, some forestry companies. So if there's anybody out there with those kind of connections that are thinking they might need accommodations in our area, that's something we offer as well.
Awesome. So listen, I'm gonna switch to this, and I'm gonna put your information on the screen, which is what people want to know as far as getting a hold of you. This shouldn't be an obvious question, but are you still taking bookings for 2020? Meaning, do you have availability? Because I know that with our current environment, you might have some spaces that otherwise wouldn't have been available.
Yeah. So I know we promised not to talk about the C word on the conversation, but given the current climate, like you said, our current schedule has become pretty much Swiss cheese. So if people are able to, and once we're able to accommodate, we're not hesitating to take reservations right now for any time in 2020. And a lot of people are already starting to book for 2021.
Yeah. And I would imagine with an outfit like yours with such good fishing, people are booking in advance. Or maybe even holding regular weeks. Do you have guests that do that? They're at the same time every year?
I always tell people, June usually books. We're about 75 to 80% capacity a year ahead of time for just June.
Right.
So if people that have never stayed with us are interested in booking June, now is a great opportunity to do that for 2021. Definitely. And then most of the other months, May, we do get busy with the trout fishing on Nipigon. July, we get a lot of families that come up. They'll book every year. And, what's kind of neat is these groups that come every year at the same time, they'll actually plan their trips. I can think of one in particular. There's a group from New Hampshire and a group from Toronto. So now they book their trips during the same week. So they'll call each other in the off season and plan it. So it's kind of neat.
That's awesome. And, I think this is important, right? Because, we're doing this live right now, but somebody could be watching this on a recording, at Christmas, right? And so it is important to know you can, make the phone call, book, get there ahead of time. Because, this is the way it works. The better weeks at the better lakes, they go fast, so you got to get on that.
Yeah, we make it as painless as possible, too, to book. So when somebody calls up, if they have their dates and their party size, we confirm everything through email. They send in a small deposit, which we send them a confirmation that we've seen it, that we received it. And then, then we'll, like I said, we'll contact them a week ahead of their schedule and go over last minute questions and talk shop, stuff like that.
Beautiful. All right, so folks, we'll just see if there's any last minute questions or comments. Throw them in. Lots of advice on fishing locations there. So Chad, you got a number there up there. Text it or call it. You're the guy that answers it. And you got website and you got email. Anything else that you should be covering for us tonight? Did we miss anything?
Yeah, we're pretty easy to get a hold of. There's multiple ways to, like you said, to contact us. They can call. Excuse me. They can text. You can email. I get Facebook messages. So pretty easy to get a hold of. If for some reason we don't answer, we will get back to you, usually within a day.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks so much for making the time tonight. Thanks everybody that watched this live. Thanks for you that are watching this on recording. All the videos are going to be up on YouTube there, youtube.com/Fisherman. All of Chad's information's up there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, all that information is down in the show notes. So
Right.
Thanks very much, Chad. We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, everybody stay healthy. Thanks for tuning in. And if they got questions, we welcome them to call.
Awesome. Thanks very much, eh?
Thanks.
All right.